There's only 4 games on Thursday, so let's talk about them, what we're watching for, who's in, who's out, who we're streaming in, and of course, listening to Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd. I've actually been sitting back and watching everything and taking notes, not just on the players, but on the travel crew, everything. And I just don't think they bring the necessary professionalism or seriousness on the road. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Twitter, as always, at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet and get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Go to FanDuel.com to get started. Thank you also for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free. We are available on all platforms, so give it a thumb and a double bang and leave your comments, and all of that stuff is always sick. It's awesome. It's great. It's unbelievable. Let's take a look. Thursday, there are 4 games on. Let's check out the information. If you haven't heard and you get this information before it happens, we have got CJ McCollum out. We have got Myles Turner out. So that means big opportunity for Jose Alvarado because Jordan Hawkins also questionable, and Isaiah Jackson's probably going to start in Indiana. They are 2 really interesting short-term stream options that just sort of popped up. The Turner one we talked about yesterday, McCollum one, out of nowhere. Be aware of those as short-term, and it could be longer-term. We don't know how long CJ's out. We don't know how long Turner's out. 2 interesting options that are worth taking a look at. Let's actually take a look then at the games here. What's on my radar for those 4 games on Thursday? Unfortunately, as the NBA loves to do, we love low-quality basketball, so we love to see back-to-backs. It's always a great thing to do. So we're going to take a look at those. Well, 3 of these 4 games include back-to-back teams. I believe it's 3. The first game we take a look at is your Milwaukee Bucks taking on the Memphis Grizzlies. One of these teams, the Memphis Grizzlies, is coming into this one on a back-to-back. In terms of the schedule, both teams play Thursday, Saturday, and both teams have 4 games next week in week 3. In terms of who is out, Chris Middleton remains out for Milwaukee. Memphis, you're going to have no G.G. Jackson. You're going to have no Vince Williams, no Duck Luke Kennard. And then Ja Morant, Zach Edey, and Johnny Conchar are all questionable for Wednesday's game. So I don't know that they play on Thursday. The other thing that I don't know is, will Jaren Jackson's preseason hamstring injury cause him to miss a back-to-back? Because he's playing on Wednesday. So does that mean that he doesn't play Thursday? And I would expect, given the way they are treating Ja Morant at the moment, if Morant plays on Wednesday, he will almost certainly sit on Thursday. And I would guess they'd be pretty cautious about Zach Edey if he plays one of these, the first game, then maybe he sits the next one as well. So as per usual with Memphis, we just don't know. There's so much up in the air. We don't know who's in. We don't know who's out, which is annoying. What am I watching for on the Milwaukee side? It is Bob Portis, because he was playing like 27 minutes a night. I was going, oh, okay, maybe I got it wrong. Maybe they're just going to go big minutes, and then 19 minutes last game. So who knows? Who knows? Glenn Rivers is going to mix things up. He's going to make mistakes. He's going to make the team worse than they should be. That is the Glenn Rivers way. Of course, if they had no Damian Lillard or Giannis in that team, Doc would make them better. That's what he does. He makes bad teams more competitive and good teams worse than they should be. The ultimate, what is it? Ceiling lower and floor raiser? Probably. Anyway, we want to see how they use Bob Portis here. In terms of stream, guys, Gary Trent continues to come up as one of my stream options. It continues to make me, as Obi loses his mind about Gary Trent, it continues to make me annoyed that Gary Trent comes out high in projections, but it's one of those things, right? You've got 30 to 33 minutes. You've got an opportunity to hit some open threes and work your way into 2 rebounds and 2 steals. That's the opportunity. We know what Trent is, though, and it might be completely useless. That's the risk you take with streamers. That is why Trent is not the must-roster player, because there's just too much weirdness going on. But when we're talking about guys who have opportunities, the opportunity remains there. For the Grizzlies, we don't know, because we don't know who's in or out, but Jay Huff and Scottie Pippen are being grabbed in a lot of spots, rightfully so. The guy who does float around at the moment is Jake LaRavia. And if players remain out and we get an extra addition to that list, like a Jaren Jackson, LaRavia's got an opportunity to do some stuff. So he's a name to just keep on our radars there in that game. The second game of the day, we're talking about another battle of Texas. It is Houston going to take on the Dallas Mavericks. Neither team are on a back-to-back, and the Mavericks are 5-point favorites here. And Houston plays Thursday, Saturday with 4 games in Week 3, and Dallas plays Thursday, Sunday with 4 games in Week 3. Injury-wise, Houston's clean, and Dallas has Dante Exum out, while Maxi Kleber's missed the last few with a hamstring injury. There's no official designation on him for this game on Thursday. I'm going to put him as questionable at the moment. What do we want to watch? It has to be Alperen Sengun, because the last 2 games, he has really struggled. He's had foul trouble. He's been benched versus Wembanyama. First game, killed it, dominated. But the last 2 are bad. How does Ime Udoka use him here? How does the minutes look? Do they push back down again and we go to these Jabari Smith at center lineups? Does Steven Adams get an increased role? We want to watch that very carefully. On the Dallas side of things, much like Sengun, Klay Thompson had an absolutely huge game on opening night. And then nothing. And then it's back to the Klay Thompson that the Warriors didn't re-sign, and the Klay Thompson that got benched, and the Klay Thompson that inspired the watched wash graphic. He was bad. He doesn't play 30 minutes every night. He shoots poorly and then shoots well and offers very little apart from points and threes. He is, and this is blasphemous, he's trending towards Gary Trent territory. So we keep an eye to see how Klay looks in this one. In terms of streams, Tari Eason's probably the guy, because you get him 21 minutes and you can get 2 steals, a block, and 6 rebounds with 6 points. Dylan Brooks could also be in that mix. And then on Dallas, there's just no good streaming options. Make sure that Gafford and Lively have not been dropped anywhere. They're guys you've got to roster, same with PJ Washington, but otherwise it's Najee Marshall. That is not a particularly appealing move, I wouldn't have thought. What is an appealing move is me telling you that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Get ready to tackle all of the sports action across FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can get in and bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if you win. Easy. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything that you need to place live bets on the NFL, the NBA, the World Series, whatever it is, all in one place. So in the middle of the game, when you get a hunch, you want to open up the FanDuel app, you check all the live betting options, and you're also in that same spot, check out the live play-by-play. You can check out the live stats. So everything that you need is right in that same spot. So go to FanDuel.com right now to join today. Get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That is FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And don't forget to gamble responsibly. Okay, let's take a look at some more things that are on my radar for the games on Thursday. 2 more games, then we look at some streams of the day and some chunky stuff we're going to get into as well. Spurs and the Jazz. This is a back-to-back for San Antonio as well. They're playing on Wednesday. The Spurs play Thursday, Saturday as well this week with 4 games in week 3. And then the Jazz go Thursday, Saturday, 2, but only 3 games in week 3. We know Devin Vassell is out and the return is coming. Trey Jones is out for another week and a bit. On the Jazz side, Taylor Hendricks is done. Isaiah Collier is out. And then we don't, I'm going to double check this, but we don't, I believe, have an update on Lauri Markkanen just yet. Let's take a look. No official update on him just yet. So, Markkanen left the last game with back spasms. Given that they are leaning into a tank aggressively at this point, I would suggest that he doesn't play, but we don't know. Spurs on a back-to-back, like I said, but there's 2 major things to watch for the Jazz. It's the Colin Sexton experience. Are we really playing 22 minutes a night and Clarkson's getting the minutes? Sexton sucked last game. He's had a lot of stinkers. 28 minutes of Sexton's great. 24 is not. So we want to see how they use that. And then it's what happens with the absence of Hendricks. It's how they use John Collins and what happens if Markkanen is out. In the Spurs side of things, you could consider Keldon Johnson there. You can also look at Julian Champagny. Bubbles has been starting. He probably has more upside than Johnson, but he can also disappear at times. While on the Jazz side of things, Clarkson's an interesting ad, but I really like the appeal of Kyle Filipowski. He started the second half without Markkanen. He came off the bench before John Collins. He's got a really fantasy-friendly game. He can shoot some threes. He rebounds. He gets some passes. He steals. He blocks. He does a lot of things. So there's a lot to like about him. Now, that could just turn into nothing. If Markkanen plays, Filipowski might get 16 minutes a night and it's useless. But they could also, and I believe they will, start to really prioritize the young guys. Williams, Filipowski, Collier when he returns, George. You see, Keontae George gets the most minutes every game. Williams is now starting. Filipowski might be the next one. So we keep an eye on it. I don't mind getting ahead of it and see where it goes. But of course, if Markkanen plays, it just might be completely useless. Completely. The last game of the day, it's Phoenix and the Clippers. The Clippers come into this one on a back-to-back. There is a spread out already. The Suns are 5.5-point favorites here. Both of these teams have the exact same upcoming schedule overall. Thursday and Saturday they play this week, the Phoenix Suns and the Clippers, and then next week they both play 4 games. I'm going to list Josh Okogie doubtful with a hamstring injury. He's not going to play anyway, so it doesn't matter. And I have preemptively put a questionable tag on Bradley Beal. He played the last game. His elbow did not look right. He was sort of grimacing and holding it quite a bit. So I'm just going to put him as questionable. No guarantee that he misses or plays or whatever. But I just think we need to be aware of that. On the Clippers side of things, Leonard's going to be out and Mo Bamba's going to be out. Feel pretty good about that. It's got to be Jusuf Nurkic, the thing that we watch in Phoenix, because benched the last game. How does he go up against Ivica Zubac? Because he had a really good game 2 games ago. But they run Royce O'Neal sometimes. They run Mason Plumlee sometimes. So we are really trending into dangerous Nurkic territory. I thought that Mike Budenholzer would be able to get something out of Nurkic. I think he's still a pretty good defender, improved some of his shooting, but he's been atrocious. Atrocious. He cannot finish at the rim at all. That's been really bad. His minutes get cut continually. So, if that continues to happen, I'd like to give it a few more games, but we are quickly moving off that. In terms of streams, Royce O'Neal has been, I don't think he's got much upside, Royce O'Neal, but he's been around the 100, 110 sort of a mark so far this season. And if they lean more into that small ball configuration, O'Neal's the guy that gets the minutes. He'll hit some threes, he'll get some sneaky assists, he gets a couple of steals, he grabs some rebounds. He's just interesting enough. And then, speaking of getting steals, Chris Dunn. He doesn't need 28 minutes, he won't get them. But if he gets 22 to 23, you can get 1.6 steals. You can get 3.5 assists. He's prioritized at the moment over Nick Batum and over Kevin Porter Jr. And honestly, last game, over Terrence Mann, rightfully so. He is a better defender. So we'll see where they go with him in these next 2 days. But when you're looking for those numbers, Dunn is there. So that's that Dunn. The other Dunn to watch would be Ryan Dunn. If Bradley Beal is out, he would start, and then he would be a really good steals and blocks type streamer. We know what Ryan Dunn does. That is what Dunn does. Dunn does do the Dunn do things. Let's talk about the schedule. There's no back-to-backs Thursday to Friday, which is annoying because Friday is a 9-game day and Thursday is a 4-game day. So it would have been great to get a back-to-back across those two, but absolutely not. We do not get that. Why would we get that? We don't get the opportunity to take those extra games in. What we do look at, though, is the chunks. Thursday through to Monday. Who plays 3 games in the next 5 nights that is widely available that we might be able to pay attention to? Well, I'm just going to keep talking about Wendell Carter Jr. until he plays a 26-minute-a-night role continually, or people start grabbing him, and they haven't. So I think he's worth it. The Magic have had a very sort of compacted schedule. They've had a lot of chunk sections, a lot of 3 games in 5 nights. Let's have a look at it. Scoot Henderson's under 50% rostered. Yeah, I know. He will have bad games. But 3 games, 5 nights, volume, minutes, assists. I like it. Malik Monk, really poor the last 2 games, but last game at least the minutes went back up. 3 games, 5 nights, tips me over the edge. I am still holding him, but it is frustrating the way the minutes have been up and down. Christian Brown is still available in 60% of leagues. It is hard on a low usage player to feel super excited about it, but tons of defensive stats, but most importantly, tons of minutes. And 3 games in 5 nights, will the Nuggets take all of these to overtime? I don't know. And that will give us a better indication of where we sit. But yeah, he is fine. We go with that. Grade A Dick, there's no Scotty Barnes. There might not be any quickly. So there continues to be an opportunity for Dick to up his usage. Now, I think we'd all love to get more usage through Dick. And that helps in terms of our ability to do that in fantasy. And at the moment, we are just going to see more of Dick. There's no way around that. Without Barnes, they're going to have to rely upon him more. Somebody else will step into the role of Barnes. Maybe it's Olynyk when he returns. Maybe it's Mobo. It's probably Abaji. But Dick would be the priority there. And then Scottie Pippen. There's going to be, I would guess, given Morant is still dealing with this questionable tag, minutes limits through the rest of the week and maybe next week. And that means Pippen's minutes push up. And Marcus Smart is terrible. So, yeah, that helps Grady. Not helps Grady, helps Scotty. Scotty is the player that we're talking about here in this part of the show. Let's now get a look at the streams of the day and the best options for us to take a look at on Thursday. Remembering there is always ways that this stuff can go wrong, but we try and prioritize opportunities, and we try and prioritize the thing that the majority of the time we hope will work out, but it doesn't always. And that is always the risk with the streamer. It's always the risk with relying upon a 1-game sample size. The stream of the day option here. We are looking at Gary Trent comes up again. Opportunity, 30 plus minutes. A chance. when we look at all this stuff, like if Gary Trent has 18 points, hits 6 threes, has 2 steals with 2 rebounds, you'd go, that's Gary Trent. It's probably not going to happen again, but we understand the viability of that. Because he's locked in as a starter and no one is taking the minutes. 12-teamer, Julian Champagnie. His minutes can go up and down. It might be 29, it might be 21. He might have 2 blocks, he might have 4 shots. But that's where we're talking opportunity. The artist formerly known as Taurean Prince. Yeah, is he bad? Of course he is. Does Darvin Ham love him for some reason? Yes, of course as well. But Prince, with Chris Middleton out, is going to play 28 to 31 minutes. He'll have nights where he shoots 1 of 6 and has 3 points like the last 2 games. Or he'll have a night where he has 14 points on 4 shots, grabs 7 rebounds and 2 steals, and you love it. So he's as a 14-team league streamer, absolutely. We hate it long term, but we love it now. And then for deeper leagues, we go to Royce O'Neal. But and you're going to see this when we talk about the 10-team streamers. All these guys are worth considering even in shallow formats for the day. For a Yahoo points, Jordan Clarkson probably looks like that guy. He's still over 50% available, and points leagues is where he thrives. And then on ESPN points, Scottie Pippen just nudges him out because of the efficiency penalties that you do get over on ESPN in their points league formats. If you look at the streams of the day for your 10-team category leagues, like I said, it's just those top bunch of guys. Again, Trent, Champagnie, Prince, and O'Neal. I'll throw Chris Dunn and Keldon Johnson in there. Now, none of those players have anything remotely close to long-term feasibility in 10-team leagues. They don't. We don't look at those guys and go, man, I can't wait to just hold on to them. It's about a 4-game day. It's about who can be a starter here that has an opportunity. And there'll be a random injury that pops up at some point during the day that we'll hear about, and someone else may jump to the top of this list. But when we're looking at the early priorities, I think these are the sort of players we look at in that 10-team format. If you're in a 12-teamer, look at all those guys as well. But here's another bunch of 6 players to look at. And that's where we get to this situation. Like Tari Eason's in here. You could try him in 10 as well. But the second guy on that list, Kyle Filipowski, I don't know. But if we hear that Markkanen's out, Filipowski goes to the top of that list. Because not only does he become a streamer for that day, but if we hear Markkanen's dealing with some sort of unknown, doubtful Mark Williams back problem, well, Filipowski's a long-term ad. So you can prioritize long-term over short-term by looking at someone like Filipowski there. Derek Jones Jr., playing really well. Love what he's been doing. Yeah, really good streamer. Dylan Brooks, unbelievably low upside, but he's had a couple of really big games. And, importantly, Houston's giving him like 34 minutes a night. So any idea that Whitmore or Eason or Amen or Reed Shepherd would take his minutes are obviously based in folly at this point. Mason Plumlee, I'm going to put the cockroach here because, he had 10 rebounds last game. He played over Jusuf Nurkic. Is that what they're going to do? I don't know. And that is why we want to watch it. But it also makes him somewhat of an intriguing stream on a somewhat low-volume desperation type day. And then we know we're getting really desperate because I'm telling you that in a 12-team league, maybe if the other 11 guys are gone, you can look at the pencil Harrison Barnes. Barnesy. Yeah, that's how bad it's getting. For deeper leagues, Terrence Mann. Now, Terrence Mann's minutes are not secure. Under 20 last game, might be 26, but he is just not a high-level producer. But he's in the rotation, so that's something. Zach Collins and Steph Castle in San Antonio. Again, bench minutes. Castle could push to 24, but that could have a negative impact, or a word I do like, deleterious impact on your overall field goal percentage. But in deeper leagues, we want minutes. Delon Wright has been only getting 13 a night. I thought we'd get some opportunities, much like with Patrick Beverley last season, where Wright could play next to the lid, but it is possible that Wright is just cooked. Or Doc Rivers is a bad coach. Either one. I don't know. But we'll see where DeLon is. But there's opportunity there for some steals and some assists. Cody Williams, you could put Cody Williams ahead of a lot of these guys. He so far has been an incredibly poor per minute producer. It was good last game. He got 2 steals and 3 threes. And, like we say, opportunity is there for him. There are minutes available. And he's going to start. So that does push him probably a bit higher than some of these other guys. And the other one is Ryan Dunn, who would also shoot way to the top of this list. If Markkanen is out and if Beal is out, Williams and Dunn jump up probably into 10-team streams or maybe even 12-team streams, just because extra minutes, extra usage, extra opportunity becomes more of the key there. If you go to Yahoo Points Leagues, Jordan Clarkson sits there at the top as one of those guys, followed by Gary Trent, Scottie Pippen, a couple of juniors there, Keldon Johnson, Royce O'Neal, the Basmati Man, and Bubbles Champagnie as your last guy. And then for ESPN Points Leagues, it is a incredibly, remarkably similar list. Pippen, Trent, Clarkson, Keldon, Royce O'Neal, and lastly, it is Bubbles Champagnie. And that is a rapid-fire 4-game preview waiver wire stream show for Thursday. And if you liked streams, hit the thumb up, ring a bell, double bang, and check out all the other shows. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.